Welcome to our channel, your gateway to the most spine-chilling tales and unnerving true stories. Today, we present a true story, The Coffin's Curse. Emma woke with a start, her heart pounding in her chest. She sat up in bed, the sheets tangled around her legs, gasping for breath. She looked around the familiar surroundings of her bedroom, trying to ground herself. It had been the dream again, the one that had been plaguing her for weeks. In the dream, she found herself trapped inside a dark, cramped space. The air was thick and stale, making it difficult to breathe. She would claw at the walls, desperate to escape, but her fingers would only meet the rigid, unyielding surface of a wooden coffin. Panic would set in, and she would scream until her voice was hoarse, but no one could hear her. Each time, she would wake up in a cold sweat, her fingernails caked with dirt. Emma shuddered, trying to shake the lingering sense of dread. She switched on the bedside lamp, its warm glow chasing away the shadows. Reaching for the glass of water on the nightstand, she took a sip, the cool liquid soothing her parched throat. As she sat there, Emma couldn't help but wonder what the dream could possibly mean. She had never been one to put much stock in the significance of dreams, but this recurring nightmare was starting to unsettle her. Deciding she needed a distraction, she reached for a laptop and began to research the meaning of being trapped in a coffin in a dream. What she found only added to her sense of unease. Many sources suggested that such a dream could symbolize feelings of being trapped, suffocated, or powerless in one's waking life. Others claimed it was a harbinger of impending doom, or even a prophetic vision of one's own death. Closing the laptop, Emma shook her head. "No, that's nonsense," she murmured to herself. "It's just a dream, nothing more." Still, she couldn't shake the growing sense of unease that had settled over her. Deciding she needed a distraction, she went about her morning routine, trying to push the unsettling dream to the back of her mind. As the days passed, the nightmares continued unabated. Emma found herself growing more and more agitated. The constant fear of falling asleep and reliving the suffocating experience taking a toll on her mental and physical well-being. She began to dread going to bed, often staying up until the early hours of the morning, trying to avoid the inevitable. One evening, as she was scrolling through her social media feed, a post caught her eye. It was a link to a local news article about a recent archaeological discovery in a nearby town. Intrigued, Emma clicked on the link and began to read. The article detailed the unearthing of a centuries-old gravesite, hidden deep beneath the foundations of an old, abandoned mansion. The discovery had been made by a team of historians and archaeologists who had been investigating the property's mysterious past. According to the reports, the gravesite contained the remains of several individuals, all of whom had been buried in ornate, wooden coffins. The researchers were baffled by the discovery, as the mansion had not been known to have any historical connection to a burial ground. Even more intriguing was the fact that one of the coffins had been found to be empty, with only a small pile of dirt inside. The article speculated that the coffin may have been disturbed or even opened at some point in the past, though the reasons for this remained a mystery. Emma felt a chill run down her spine as she read the article. The empty coffin, the dirt, it all seemed to connect to a recurring nightmare in an unsettling way. Suddenly, she felt the overwhelming need to investigate this further. Without hesitation, Emma reached out to the authors of the article, requesting more information about the archaeological dig and the mysterious gravesite. To her surprise, they were more than willing to share what they knew, eager to uncover the truth behind this baffling discovery. Over the next few days, Emma pored over the information the researchers had provided, piecing together the history of the abandoned mansion and the gravesite. What she learned only served to deepen the sense of foreboding that had been growing within her. The mansion, it seemed, had a dark and troubled past. Built in the late 19th century by a wealthy industrialist, it had been the site of numerous strange occurrences and unexplained deaths over the years. Rumors of the occult, dark rituals, and even the presence of a malevolent spirit had long surrounded the property, causing many in the local community to avoid it altogether. It was during renovations in the 1920s that the gravesite had first been discovered, hidden beneath the foundations of the mansion. The workers who had unearthed the coffins had been struck by a sudden, unexplainable sense of dread, and many had refused to continue the work, fearing that they had disturbed something sinister. The coffins had been hastily reburied, and the mansion's owner at the time had made efforts to keep the discovery a secret, fearful of the potential damage it could do to the property's reputation. Over the years, the gravesite had remained undisturbed, hidden beneath the shifting sands of time until now. As Emma delved deeper into the history of the mansion and the gravesite, she couldn't shake the growing conviction that her recurring nightmare was somehow connected to this dark and foreboding place. The idea that the empty coffin and the dirt under her fingernails were more than just coincidence began to take hold, filling her with a sense of dread. Driven by a desperate need to uncover the truth, Emma decided to visit the site of the archaeological dig, hoping to find answers that would finally put her mind at ease. The journey to the abandoned mansion was a long and tense one, and Emma found herself growing increasingly anxious as she drew closer to her destination. The once grand estate now stood in a state of dilapidation, its once proud facade crumbling and overgrown with weeds. As she approached the gates, Emma felt a palpable sense of unease wash over her. The air seemed to crackle with an unseen energy, and the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. Steeling her nerves, she pushed open the rusted gate and made her way towards the ominous-looking structure. The archaeological team greeted her warmly, eager to share their findings and eager to hear her own theories about the mysterious gravesite. As they led her through the dark, winding corridors of the mansion, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of dread building within her. Finally, they arrived at the excavation site, where the coffins had been carefully exhumed and laid out for further study. Emma's heart raced as she gazed upon the ancient, ornate caskets, each one a silent testament to the secrets of the past. The lead archaeologist, a kind-faced man named Dr. Sinclair, gestured towards the empty coffin, its lid propped open to reveal the small mound of dirt inside. "This is the one that's been causing us the most trouble," he said, his brow furrowed with concern. "We can't seem to find any definitive explanation for why it was left open and empty." Emma swallowed hard, her mouth suddenly dry. Do you think it's possible that something, or someone, escaped from it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Sinclair pursed his lips, his eyes troubled. "It's a possibility we've considered," he admitted, "but without more evidence, we can't say for certain. All we know is that this coffin was disturbed in some way, and whatever was inside is no longer there." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. She stared at the empty casket, the implications of what it could mean swirling through her mind. Suddenly, a thought occurred to her. Have you noticed anything unusual happening around the property since you started the excavation?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. The archaeologist's expression darkened. "As a matter of fact, yes," he replied. "Several of my team members have reported experiencing strange occurrences, unexplained noises, the feeling of being watched, even visions of a woman trapped inside a coffin." Emma's heart skipped a beat. "A woman trapped inside a coffin," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Sinclair nodded solemnly. "Yes, that's right. And the description matches your own experience. From what you've told me." Emma felt the blood drain from her face as the implications of what he was saying sank in. Could it be possible that the nightmares she had been experiencing were somehow connected to the disturbed coffin and the ancient gravesite? Sensing her distress, Dr. Sinclair placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "I understand this is a lot to take in," he said gently, "but we're committed to getting to the bottom of this mystery, no matter where it leads us." Emma nodded, her mind racing with questions and theories. She knew she couldn't ignore the connection any longer. Whatever was haunting her dreams was somehow linked to the dark secrets buried beneath the abandoned mansion. As the days passed, Emma found herself drawn deeper into the investigation, working closely with Dr. Sinclair and his team to uncover the truth. They pored over historical records, interviewed local residents, and even brought in a team of paranormal investigators to help them understand the strange occurrences that had been reported on the property. The more they uncovered, the more unsettling the picture became. It seemed that the mansion and the gravesite were both inextricably linked to a dark chapter in the town's history, one that had been carefully hidden and forgotten over the decades. According to the records they uncovered, the mansion had once been the site of a sinister occult ritual conducted by a group of wealthy and influential individuals who had been members of a secret society. The ritual, it seemed, had gone horribly wrong, and several of the participants had been killed in a violent and gruesome fashion. The bodies had been hastily buried in the gravesite beneath the mansion, and the property's owner at the time had gone to great lengths to cover up the incident, destroying any evidence and silencing those who knew the truth. Over the years, the mansion had become a place of dark legend and superstition, with tales of ghostly apparitions and unexplained occurrences circulating through the local community. And now, it seemed, the ancient evil that had been buried beneath the property had been awakened once more. As Emma delved deeper into the investigation, she began to experience more than just nightmares. Strange occurrences started to happen around her, unexplained noises and shadowy figures that seemed to vanish as quickly as they appeared. She found herself constantly on edge, her nerves frayed and her sense of security shattered. Finally, one night, as she lay in bed trying to sleep, Emma heard a strange scratching sound coming from the corner of her room. Sitting up, she felt a chill run down her spine as she saw the lid of an old, ornate coffin slowly beginning to creak open. Paralyzed with fear, Emma watched in horror as a skeletal hand emerged from the casket, its bony fingers clawing at the air. Suddenly, a face appeared, its features twisted and distorted, the eyes sunken and hollow. Emma let out a blood-curdling scream, but the sound seemed to die in her throat as the apparition fixed its gaze upon her. She knew, in that moment, that this was no ordinary nightmare. This was the manifestation of the ancient evil that had been unleashed from the gravesite beneath the abandoned mansion. As the ghostly figure began to emerge from the coffin, Emma felt a sense of desperation and determination course through her. She couldn't let this malevolent force claim her as its next victim. Mustering all her courage, she scrambled out of bed and rushed towards the door, fumbling for the light switch. The instant the room was flooded with light, the ghostly figure let out a blood-curdling shriek and vanished, leaving behind only a faint wisp of smoke. Emma stood there, trembling, her heart pounding in her chest. In the days that followed, Emma worked tirelessly with Dr. Sinclair and his team to uncover the full extent of the evil that had been unleashed. They delved deeper into the history of the occult ritual, uncovering disturbing details about the individuals involved and the dark powers they had been seeking to harness. It became clear that the ghost they had encountered was the vengeful spirit of one of the ritual's participants, a woman who had been betrayed and sacrificed by her fellow cultists. Trapped in the coffin for centuries, she had been driven to madness, her thirst for revenge fueling her malevolent existence. As the investigation progressed, the team realized that the only way to put an end to the haunting was to properly rebury the disturbed coffin and its contents, laying the ancient evil to rest once and for all. It was a dangerous and harrowing task, fraught with the risk of unleashing even more powerful forces. But with determination and a steadfast commitment to protecting the town from the dark forces that had been awakened, the team pressed on, carefully exhuming the coffin and preparing for the final ritual. On the night of the ceremony, Emma stood alongside the archaeologists, her heart pounding, as they performed the sacred rites to seal the coffin and banish the vengeful spirit. The air was thick with tension, and Emma could feel the weight of the centuries-old evil pressing down upon them. As the ritual reached its climax, a sudden and violent energy erupted, the air crackling with an unseen force. Emma braced herself, her eyes squeezed shut, as the earth seemed to tremble beneath her feet, and then, silence. When Emma opened her eyes, the coffin was sealed, the ancient gravesite undisturbed once more. The team stood in awe, the weight of what they had accomplished evident on their faces. As they made their way out of the abandoned mansion, Emma couldn't help but reflect on the harrowing experience. The ordeal had shaken her to her core, forcing her to confront the darkest corners of human nature and the persistent power of ancient evil. In the days that followed, Emma found herself grappling with the aftermath of the experience. The nightmares had finally ceased, but the memory of the ghostly figure and the terror she had felt lingered on. She knew that she would never be the same, that the encounter had left an indelible mark on her psyche. And as she contemplated the moral of the story, Emma realized that her experience had taught her a valuable lesson, that the secrets of the past, if left uncovered, can have dire and devastating consequences. The greed, ambition, and twisted desires of the occult practitioners had unleashed a malevolent force that had terrorized the town for centuries, and it had taken a tremendous effort to finally put it to rest. Emma vowed to never again dismiss the power of the past, to always be mindful of the secrets that lay buried, waiting to be uncovered. She knew that the pursuit of knowledge and understanding was a double-edged sword, and that one must always be prepared to face the consequences of their actions. As she looked out over the now peaceful town, Emma felt a sense of relief wash over her. The dark chapter had been closed, the ancient evil laid to rest, but she also knew that the lessons she had learned would stay with her for the rest of her life. A constant reminder that the past can never truly be forgotten, and that the price of ignoring it can be far too high to bear. Thank you so much for joining me on this cinematic journey. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Have you experienced a spine-chilling horror that left you trembling? Share your terrifying tale with us by emailing nightmarenetwork@hotmail.com, and we'd be thrilled to feature it on our platform. Until next time, happy movie watching.